at a Spectrum store today.
Even the mighty might not see it coming. It's prediabetes, and it captures 1 in 3 adults. But you can escape. Take the 1-minute prediabetes risk test to know where you stand and prevent or delay type 2 diabetes. Be your own hero on smartphones everywhere at doihaveprediabetes.org.
Spectrum News Plus. Local stories, connecting communities. Streaming now on the Spectrum News app and free with your Spectrum subscription.
I'm Sharon Tazwell. Here's your Spectrum News in 90. The death toll rising following a powerful earthquake in Myanmar and Thailand. The impacts felt as far away as China. The 7.7 magnitude quake struck Friday near Myanmar's second largest city of Mandalay and was followed by a strong 6.4 magnitude aftershock. A state of emergency has been declared in 6 regions. And U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance joining his wife Usha to visit an American military base in Greenland Friday. The trip comes amid high tensions between the U.S. and the Nordic territory after President Trump said the United States should control the country.
We need to ensure that America is leading in the Arctic because we know that if America doesn't, other nations will fill the gap where we fall behind.
Greenland's leader has called the visit highly aggressive. Health and Human Services Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. praised new legislation in West Virginia Friday banning food dyes in school lunches. Kennedy also commended the state for seeking a federal waiver to restrict some foods from the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program.
If you love our country, you got to take care of yourselves. We cannot have a strong country if we have sick citizens.
Kennedy urged states to apply for FDA waivers to further regulate food dyes. And that is your Spectrum News in 90.
To the big deal. I'm Errol Lewis, national political anchor at Spectrum News. We launched this program last year to focus on the #1 news story in America, the future of our country and its people. With a new administration in the White House and a new Congress, we are exploring the new people and policies in power that are shaping the nation. The big deal this week is the fallout in Washington over the bombshell revelation that the nation's top defense and intelligence officials exchanged sensitive military plans on a group chat where a journalist had been inadvertently added. President Donald Trump insists that the sensitive details of an attack on Houthis in Yemen was somehow not classified information. Meanwhile, Democrats and a few Republicans are calling the security breach serious and demanding accountability. We've got news and analysis on this topic, but first, take a look at some reaction from the nation's capital.
Nobody's texting more plans. I know exactly what I'm doing.
No, that's a lie. He was texting war plans. He was texting attack plans.
It was a mistake that a reporter was inadvertently added to a Signal chat with high-level national security principles.
And we are looking into and reviewing how the heck he got into this room.
There was no classified information, as I understand it.
You cannot talk about the time, date, place, targets, sequence of strikes, and not have that be classified.
I did not transmit classified information.
It was a mistake. Everyone makes mistakes.
But I think you have to have an investigation.
Secretary Hegseth and so many others are clearly not up for the job. We warned that confirming them was dangerous, that they would behave recklessly.
What we should be talking about is it was a very successful mission. Our world is now safer because of that.
Well, I don't know about downplaying. The press upplays it. I think it's all a witch hunt.
Joining me now are 2 top political analysts. Susan Arbetter is a political anchor for Spectrum News 1 in Albany, New York. Taylor Popolars is the Spectrum News national political reporter who covers the Trump administration out of Washington, D.C. And Taylor, the White House is sticking to 2 basic talking points. They say mistakes happen, #1, and #2, the information shared on the group chat was not classified and therefore not a big deal. Please break this down for us. Exactly what makes this information not classified?
You know, it's interesting, Errol. We've consulted a good amount of experts over the course of this story breaking throughout the week. I had a conversation with a former chief Pentagon spokesperson under President Biden who told me that, in his opinion, this information, of course, would have been classified because it was the defense secretary talking about a military operation before that operation was carried out. I also had a conversation with a former CIA and NSA official who at one point was a senior director of the White House Situation Room. He's been in this business of national security for almost 4 decades, and he said, based on his expertise, this information either would have been considered classified or potentially top secret, given the fact that it was not only a timeline of this military strike in Yemen, but it talked about what teams were involved, it talked about certain weapons were involved. So it's really striking when you compare it to what the Trump White House has been saying, especially somebody like Attorney General Pam Bondi, who said at a press conference during the week that it was sensitive information, but that it was not classified. As you mentioned, that's been a talking point for this Trump team as they're trying to get a hold of this controversy. But expert after expert says, of course, this was classified information because this was before the military strike even took place.
Okay, so now, Susan, even before this breach of security, questions were being raised about whether the Trump administration is acting with care and competence as it cuts through the federal bureaucracy. How does this incident fit into that narrative, do you think?
I think it justifies the narrative, Errol. It is reckless. Leaders of both parties have played fast and loose with the nation's secrets. Both Joe Biden and Donald Trump stored classified documents in their homes. But this appears to be a more egregious kind of error in that it was so avoidable. All the people on the chat, except for the journalists, presumably have been trained in dealing with classified information. Plus, and here's where the real recklessness comes in, these administration officials were using the Signal app even after a DoD memo had been sent to staffers telling them to avoid Signal because Russia was trying to access messages of Ukrainian Signal users. So this, on top of firing generals without justification and spending an inordinate amount of time deleting tens of thousands of pages that previously highlighted the service of women, the gay community, people of color, seems reckless and performative.
Well, this isn't over, right, Taylor? I mean, a federal judge has ordered the Trump administration to preserve records of the Signal group chat, and Democratic lawmakers are demanding investigations, and they're also demanding, by the way, the resignation of the Defense Secretary, Pete Hegseth. Is there a sense in Washington where you are that there will be political consequences for this leak?
You know, in Congress, you certainly hear rumblings of it. And to add to what you just mentioned, there's at least one prominent Republican who's calling for an investigation. Mississippi Senator Roger Wicker chairs the Senate Armed Services Committee. He's very plugged into this kind of line of intelligence and line of work. And he and the top Democrat on that panel wrote a letter to the Inspector General of the Defense Department that Spectrum News obtained, calling for an investigation, an independent probe, if you will. But here at the White House, I can tell you the Trump team is adamant that nobody is going to be fired or pushed out or resigned because of this. I actually want to read a quote that Vice President J.D. Vance said when he was asked about this while visiting Greenland. He said, addressing the American media, if you think you're going to force the President of the United States to fire anybody, you've got another thing coming. President Trump has said it on Monday, on Tuesday, on Wednesday, on Thursday, and I'm the Vice President saying it here on Friday. We are standing behind our entire national security team. And on that trip to Greenland, the Vice President was joined by National Security Advisor Mike Waltz, who's the person who created this chat in the first place.
Okay. Let me switch topics for just a minute, Susan. In your background, in your backyard, I should say, Congresswoman Elise Stefanik got some bad news this week. President Trump has canceled her nomination as ambassador to the United Nations, citing a fear that Republicans might lose their narrow majority in the House of Representatives. Here's how he explained it.
We don't want to take any chances, so I went to Elise and I said, Elise, do you mind? A very highly rated person, you know, she was a real leader, and she will be again. I spoke with Mike Johnson. They're going to put her in a high leadership position, but will you mind staying in Congress? Because we don't want to take any chances, and it's as simple as that. It's basic politics. It's politics 101.
So, I mean, you know the politics of that district really well, Susan. Realistically, it's not a seat that Democrats had a chance of winning, is it?
No, I think this is more about math, Errol. There are a couple of special elections in Florida that could swing the other way, leaving the slim Republican House majority even slimmer. The other fear is that there might have been a critical vote in the House during the special election to fill the Stefanik seat. Otherwise, no, this is not a seat that Democrats are likely to win. According to the Cook Political Report, the seat is rated R+10, which means it's deeply red. Stefanik won the seat by 30 points in 2024, and the district has not elected a Democrat in over a decade.
Okay, thanks very much, Susan. Thank you, Taylor. We're going to take a break now, and when we come back, the race for a Wisconsin Supreme Court seat is nearing its final stretch. We'll tell you why this race is drawing national attention. That's coming up next. Stay with us.
We said we'd never break the 3-second rule. Never do that. And never become a minivan mom.
Hey, Chris.
As parents, we say never a lot, but never happens. So when you say you'd never leave your child in a hot car, know it can happen. Before you leave the car, always stop, look, lock.
I really am in the middle of nowhere. Every day is different. Chores, come on, homeschooling, and then I fit in the rug business. I just got a new batch of rugs that I'd love to show you. I have a website, and a lot of what I do is sharing my home life. Mommy's leaving. Reliable, high-speed internet is the foundation of our business. Spectrum was great. They went out of their way to make sure that I was okay and I was taken care of. Shoo! And that's the awesomeness of having Spectrum.
I'm an ex-drug dealer, and I'll be your sub today. Two milligrams of fentanyl can be lethal. A lethal dose is in here. Who gets it, I won't know.
It's cheap, it's potent, and it's profitable. The sad reality is fentanyl is being mixed into everything now.
More kitchen now.
You're not gonna get it all right. Just make sure you nail the big stuff.
Mama!
Like making sure your kids are in the right seat for their age and size. Get it right at nhtsa.gov/the-right-seat.
We're back with the big deal. Next week's Supreme Court election in Wisconsin has broken records. It's now the most expensive judicial race in American history. Judges Susan Crawford and Brad Schimmel are competing for a 10-year term on the state's highest court. Election day is next Tuesday. That's when it will be decided. The contest is more than just a local race. Analysts see it as a major test of support or opposition to President Trump's power just 2 months into his term. While the judicial contest is technically nonpartisan, the race has attracted tens of millions of dollars from outside groups, most notably from billionaire businessman Elon Musk, the White House senior advisor, who was also the largest donor to the Trump campaign last fall. Musk's opponents have gone on a fundraising campaign in an attempt to offset the businessman's level of influence. The candidates are making their closing arguments to voters, and Spectrum News reporter Anthony DeBruzzi has the latest from Wisconsin in this report.
If If you want them to be safe, don't vote for him.
The candidates for Wisconsin's highest court calling each other out in what's become the most expensive judicial race in American history.
This man was caught with child porn. Schimmel gave him a plea deal.
Spending in the Badger State is shattering the previous record of $56 million put into the 2023 race for state Supreme Court, as even presidents, past and present, are now weighing in.
Breaking news tonight, President Donald Trump is officially weighing in.
Former Attorney General turned Circuit Court Judge Brad Schimmel is using one of his last ads to highlight an endorsement from President Donald Trump.
Trump's right.
If we elect Susan Crawford to the Supreme Court, none of the good that he's trying to do nationally will trickle down to Wisconsin.
While former President Barack Obama took to social media to share his support for former prosecutor and Circuit Court Judge Susan Crawford in what's technically a nonpartisan race.
Fundamentally, it's about making sure that we have a Wisconsin Supreme Court that is independent and fair and impartial and is working for the people of Wisconsin.
As voters get ready to go to the polls on April 1st, the candidates are making their closing arguments.
What do you feel is most at stake for Wisconsinites?
The stability of our state. If courts aren't objective, then they're not doing their function under the Constitution.
Wisconsin doesn't cap contributions to political parties, nor is there a limit to how much money a party can give a candidate.
That is how I was raised.
Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker and liberal philanthropist George Soros are putting up cash for Crawford, while billionaire Elon Musk is not only backing Schimmel, but offering $100 to Wisconsinites who sign a petition against so-called activist judges.
They're literally buying votes, and that doesn't feel appropriate to me.
But not everyone feels the same about the spending surge.
I would say both sides are trying to influence the election. Everybody wants their guy to win. So that's what's wonderful about voting.
Voting that just a week before the election was up by 48% from 2 years ago, when Wisconsin had yet another spirited Supreme Court race in the national spotlight. Anthony DeBruzzi, Spectrum News.
Joining me now is Ari Berman, the national voting rights correspondent from Mother Jones Magazine and the author of Minority Rule, the right-wing attack on the will of the people and the fight to resist it. Welcome, Ari. And before we get to the politics, I don't want to overlook what might be the obvious. Elon Musk has a financial self-interest here. His company Tesla is currently suing Wisconsin over a law that blocks Tesla from opening car dealerships there. Whatever else is going on, he may be trying to buy a victory so that he can change the court, change the law, and put more money in his pocket, right?
Hey, Errol, great to see you. Yes, there's a lot of layers to this. There's obviously the ideological and power dimensions. Musk wants a court that's going to be favorable to the interests of Republicans, favorable to the interests of him and Trump. There's also a self-interest, which is that, as you said, Tesla is currently suing the state of Wisconsin to allow it to directly to sell cars there. That could go all the way to the Wisconsin Supreme Court, and he wants a hand-picked justice who will rule on that case.
Last time I spoke to you, we talked about Wisconsin because it gets a lot of national attention. It's a 50-50 state, nearly equal numbers of Republicans and Democrats. One U.S. senator is Democratic, one is Republican. The Republicans control the state legislature. The Democrats have the governor's mansion. But there are 6 Republican members of Congress and only 2 Democrats. If the lines get redrawn, that's likely to change. Is that kind of at the core of this fight?
That's what Musk said was his most important issue, was preventing Democrats from having a fair shot of picking up more seats in Wisconsin in the U.S. House. Because, as you mentioned, right now, Republicans have a 6-2 advantage. If that congressional map was struck down by the progressive majority on the Wisconsin Supreme Court, there's a chance Democrats could pick up 1 or 2 more seats. Given how narrow the House is right now, that could make a big difference. And of course, if Democrats take back the House, they're going to scrutinize Musk and all the things he's doing, all the ways he's dismantling the federal government, the $38 billion in federal contracts he has. There's a lot of stuff they're going to look at, and Musk doesn't want that to happen.
The other issue at stake for the rest of us, of course, is abortion. Would a loss of the liberal majority on the state Supreme Court in Wisconsin mean a ban in that state on abortion?
Effectively, yes, because Wisconsin has an 1849 abortion ban. The Republican-controlled legislature refuses to change it, and this litigation is pending before the Wisconsin Supreme Court. Everyone expects the progressive majority to strike it down. But if the court flips back to a conservative majority, they're likely to uphold the law. The conservative candidate running for the Wisconsin Supreme Court, Brad Schimmel, who has been endorsed by Donald Trump, says he doesn't see anything wrong with that law. So Wisconsin has national ramifications in terms of being such a closely contested 50-50 state. I think if an 1849 abortion ban was allowed to stand there, that would be a blow for abortion rights, not just in Wisconsin, but one that could have ramifications across the country in terms of what other states do.
Now, last year, President Trump won Wisconsin by less than 30,000 votes. It was actually the closest of all the swing states. Democrats are trying to prevent that from happening. Is this really just a kind of a dead heat, or do you think there's a deciding factor that we might see in the next week?
It's such an unpredictable race because we've never seen so much money come in, with Musk giving $20 million. No donor has ever given that money to any judicial election anywhere in the history of the country. So, I mean, on the one hand, you have all the money that's going in on the Republican and conservative side. At the same time, Democrats are furious about this, and they're trying to use this race as a proxy battle to strike a blow against the Trump administration and what Musk is doing in Washington. So both sides are motivated in different kind of ways. Republicans have the money, Democrats have the manpower, and we're going to see which side wins. But it's very hard to know in a contest where there's going to be much lower turnout than a presidential election.
Okay, we will be watching. Thank you so much for all of that insight, Ari Berman. Stay with us. We're not done just yet. Coming up, we will also preview next week's special U.S. House elections. That's happening in Florida. Stay with The Big Deal.
For the millions of school-aged children across the country, the state of their schools can have a lasting impact on their health and well-being.
The majority of school districts aren't doing comprehensive, regular water quality testing.
As CO2 levels rise in a space, cognitive function takes a direct decline.
We visit 2 school districts working to create safe and healthy environments for their students.
Watch Exploring Your Health, Curing Our Classrooms, available on the Spectrum News app.
Starting a business is hard. You have to stay connected at all times.
As we've been growing the studio, Spectrum's been there every step of the way. I'm always able to make the phone call that I need. I'm able to shoot that text message or that email. Every vital piece of equipment that we have here uses Spectrum.
Fast, reliable internet, starting at $40 a month, backed by the Spectrum commitment to keep your business connected.
I tell my son, I love you every single day. I love you. Now, my dad has never said that to me. Not because he doesn't love me, but because culturally it wasn't comfortable for him. Now that he's a grandfather, he says, I love you to my son every time he sees him. My advice to all the fathers out there, forget the cultural restrictions. They grow up way too fast for you to waste even a single precious moment.
Food isn't just fuel to live, it's fuel to grow. My family relied on public assistance to help provide meals for us. These meals fueled my involvement in theater and the arts as a child, which fostered my love for acting. The Feeding America network of food banks helps millions of people put food on the table. When people are fed, futures are nourished. Join the movement to end hunger, and together we can open endless possibilities for people to thrive. Visit feedingamerica.org/actnow.
back with the big deal. Next Tuesday, some voters in Florida will cast ballots in 2 special elections for the House of Representatives. Those races are drawing national attention because they could shake up the balance of power on Capitol Hill. In Florida's Panhandle, Republican candidate Jimmy Patronis and Democratic candidate Gay Vallimont are vying for the seat once held by Matt Gaetz. Gaetz, of course, resigned after President Trump picked him as a nominee for Attorney General, and he withdrew from consideration just a few days later. Over on the east coast of the state, Democratic nominee Josh Weil and Republican nominee Randy Fine are competing to replace Michael Waltz, who stepped down to become the president's national security advisor. Joining me now with more on next week's big deal is an expert on Florida politics. Yvette Bruswell is an anchor for Spectrum News 13 in Orlando, Florida. Great to see you. And tell me about these 2 solidly Republican districts. Donald Trump carried them last November, but the Democrats seem to have outraised the Republicans. They're putting in $16 million. Do they actually think they can win these seats?
You know, Errol, conventional wisdom would say no. Neither Democrat has a chance in these extremely red districts, as you just mentioned, but we can never assume because, well, you know how the saying goes. So there is a chance for the Dems because of the massive fundraising. So they're both banking on voter turnout. I had a chance to sit down one-on-one and interview both, most of these candidates, but these 2 candidates for this particular race. Here's what they had to say.
When Randy Fine loses next Tuesday with Donald Trump's endorsement, it's going to let every single Republican congressman across this country know that their jobs are not safe next November. They cannot continue to ignore their constituents because they think Donald Trump's endorsement guarantees them victory.
And the Democrats are determined to steal the seat and try to stop the Trump agenda, which is why I need every Republican, everybody who supported President Trump, to get out and vote. If they do, then we're going to win, and we're going to win big.
In a nutshell, this is looking like it's going to be a lot closer than expected. Look, what would we do, you and I, if President Trump called into the show, this segment right now? Those who like him or not would still be like, whoa, President Trump just called in. That's exactly what happened last night. President Trump called in 2 tele-rallies, they called them, so by phone, and he endorsed the candidates for these 2 races, saying people have to get out. But things have changed, I think, big time, of course, that's an understatement, after President Trump was elected because of DOJ cuts and so much more.
Okay, so now let's look at the national picture. If Republicans hope to pass President Trump's agenda, they've only got a very narrow majority in the House of Representatives. Holding on to these 2 seats would be of some help, I would imagine, to the Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It's about the balance of power. Those 3 words carry so much weight. Republicans hold that narrow majority in the House, 218 seats. Democrats hold 213 seats. There are currently 4 vacant seats, so that's why it's so very important. And here's why I think also, Errol, the GOP is worried, okay? President Trump has go ahead and pulled Representative Elise Stefanik's nomination, right, to be UN ambassador. And a lot of folks are saying, you know what? He's doing the math. His folks are doing the math, and they're saying if either one of the Republicans do not win in Florida, then that would still hold strong on that very slim GOP majority. And that's what we're looking at here.
Okay, well, we will be watching. Good luck in covering that next Tuesday. Thank you very much, Yvette Bruswell, and thank you all for joining us for this episode of The Big Deal. We'll see you next week. Stay tuned to your local Spectrum station.
Friday nights, The Big Deal with Errol Lewis, where Spectrum News' local political journalists break down the most important issues shaping our nation.
Our journey into towards improving mental health doesn't always present a clear path. Every Thursday on Your Mental Health, we listen to voices across our communities, discussing the challenges of everyday life and presenting accessible resources to guide us along the path to our well-being, providing hope and empowering choices that light the way to a healthier you.
Your Mental Health with Dr. Nicole Clark, Thursdays on Spectrum News Plus, available on all your favorite devices.
It's game time at the arena, and 20,000 fans are looking for a win. With an ultra-high-speed network and seamless Wi-Fi, fans can get in the door fast and share the game's best moments in real time. And with Spectrum Business committed to keeping them connected 100% of the time, they won't miss a second of the action. A secure, reliable connection from Spectrum Business means the fan experience is a guaranteed win.
Whether it's our stories, the warmth of our laugh, or our family's secret sauce, we all bring something different to the table. So make some space. The power of connection is waiting right outside your comfort zone. Learn how you can help strengthen your community at belongingbeginswithus.org/teamup.
Weather can be beautiful, inconvenient, and at times powerful. And it affects everything we do. At Spectrum News Plus, our weather experts update you with the information and the context you need so you can better plan your day. And we do it every 10 minutes. We're the calm in the storm. Weather on the Ones on Spectrum News Plus, exclusively on Spectrum. And get your weather anytime on the Spectrum News app. Spectrum News Plus, local stories, connecting communities.